tell us what you've been working on right now with Medicare for All. And I know you guys, I think you got a new rally coming up. So give us an update.
Yeah. So this year I've been pretty busy. I was talking to some of my organizers that I typically work with, that I think that the best way moving forward with Medicare for All is to have an action every month. We did, the March Medicare for All. We had one big action last summer. We had a few small actions the end of last year, but I think going to 2022, the best path forward is have action every month. So in January, I had an MLK rally at Kingsbrook Hospital. It's one of many hospitals in New York City that actually is closing, unfortunately, obviously during the pandemic. Big surprise, corporations, capitalism just loves shutting down hospitals. It doesn't make enough money. That was the excuse that the hospital in the Bronx, they said that they're losing $12 million a year. So it's not affordable to keep that hospital open. I was like, is this what we're talking about?
I want to know, when I hear stuff like that, I always want to go, how profitable are the fire stations? Like, how much profit are they bringing? Is the police department bringing in a profit?
Right.
Like, are they, where's the profit?
It's blowing my mind. And so in February, this month rather, I had two actions. I had the Bernie action that I did in Vermont, where we actually spoke about the fact how, like, where's Bernie? Is he introducing his bill? Most people know about Medicare for All because of him. And I caught a lot of heat for that, going after him. But I felt that was necessary. I felt like I'm in healthier after this. So if I'm going to be honest, people wanted me to go after, Joe Biden. People want me to go after Pelosi. I said, we do it all the time. People on Twitter all the time go after Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi. That's not interesting. Why we keep answering the same people? They don't care. They've already made their position very clear about where their allegiance is. So while we go after people who claim that Medicare for All is their number one position, so I'm going to go after him. Why would I go after someone who told me I don't like Medicare for All? So I'm going to go after the person who told me they do. So I'm going to hold them accountable of that. Why would you not do that? And so I caught flack for that. I was like, I'm fine with that. I was like, I'm not for everybody, and every action is not for everybody either. I did another action in Oakland this past weekend where Shahid Buttar was there. The mayor of Oakland was there. I was really excited that these people showed up because Oakland is another area. I'm pretty sure, Graham, you live in California, that it's there's social inequities there in that community is really bad. Like the 10 cities in Oakland is awful. And there's so many, and again, it goes back to the fact that many people have medical debts, number one cause of bankruptcy. So you have a lot of homelessness, not just in New York, not just in Oakland, also in Seattle. I was there last year. Seattle also hit bad. DC is also hit bad. It's really bad. It's and this is another reason why I definitely want to have actions every month to kind of address this. And because I've also had discussions with other healthcare activists who felt like, an action every month is too much. And I don't think it's not enough. I think that we need to win Medicare for All. We need a 1 million man march. We need an Occupy Wall Street level of people in the street to have Medicare for All. We're not going to get it in the ballot box. It's just not going to happen. And the reason why I say that is there are people who believe that electoral solution is the only solution. I'm not saying that don't vote. I'm saying that don't discount, the civil rights movement. Don't discount women's suffrage. Don't discount the Vietnam War. Even gay marriage that happened on the street. Before it even got passed into law, look how many people was in the street before that actually passed. So that was an amount of pressure for that to happen. So I'm not saying that don't go in the ballot box. Please do, right? If you actually believe in electoral solutions, but remember that history speaks louder than words, right? Those people got in the street, it happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. It's you have to have both. You can't just have, one without the other, really. I mean, you need the pressure in the streets to force the electoral issue. I mean, really, because if politicians only respond to, they're only out of fear. If they think they're going to get voted out by their own people, that's their biggest fear. Like, oh, the opposition, whatever. Like it's when their people go, no, you promised this and you didn't. So we're coming for you. I mean, I've said this many times on this show, and I know you're aware of it as well. Mm-hmm. That's how effective the Tea Party was. I obviously don't agree with much of their platform. Right. and even some of their tactics, but their overall strategy was, we're not going to argue with Democrats. They don't believe they're not down with us. They went inside their own party and they made life a living hell for John Boehner. He left, he quit. And they told the Republicans, if you don't do what we want, we're walking and we're forming our own party. And the Republicans were terrified because if they would have formed the Tea Party, the Republican Party would be dead, because there's just not enough crazy right-wing white people to push their party. It's just not, there's not enough. So they just knew that there's just like, we only maybe can even get 30% of these folks. So that's all they had. So I still get so frustrated and perplexed when liberals get so offended when you're critical of the Democrats. They're like,
because they're comfortable. That's why.
Yeah.
Liberals are comfortable. They really are. And I mean, honestly speaking, if you look at the polls now, I'm pretty sure you've seen this too. Like, Joe Biden's polling worse than Trump. So that means the liberals are also, they're not friends with Joe Biden right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking like they're not comfortable under Joe Biden presidency. I mean, he needs to step it up. And I think that pressuring Joe Biden to pass Medicare for All is the only solution. I don't think that waiting to elect another president or elect someone else into office is going to be the answer. Like, it's just not possible. Again, pressure is really going to be the factor. This is why I'm having actions every month. I'm doing something because our brains, the human mind, we're like fish. We're literally, we have so much stimuli. So we need consistency in the movement. It's not enough that, I care about the issue or that you care about the issue. We need constant reaffirming to our community members that this is an issue. Like, we need people on the street. We need also people to actually be emboldened to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to step in. I'm going to get involved. And I do notice that, I know a lot of my comrades don't, but I do notice that there are people who are starting to follow a lot of us. They're starting to come to different actions. Okay, I'm going to this action. I'm going to this action. I'm going to this action. And they're all bringing people. Like, even the action in Oakland, we had a lot of people show up just because we was there. Not just because we had a rally, but also because they know us. And I think that consistency is what's necessary. And I think a lot of times people don't realize that. They think that, having an action just for the sake of action is not important. It is, because you do need to not just remind them, the people who do follow you, but those people who they're bringing to the action, and those people who are new to you, because you don't want to make the assumption that everyone knows the March for Medicare for All, everyone knows PNHP, or everyone knows this, or everyone that. That's not true, right? I tend to feel like people on the left kind of live in this bubble where we feel like everyone knows these issues. That's not true. Just because everyone knows that Medicare for All is a big issue, not everyone knows that the severity of Medicare for All and what that really means and why we don't have it and why we have to fight for it. And I think that's important to talk about. So this is why I'm doing my next action in the month of March for Women's Month. So I thought about, I always like to pick holidays. So January was MLK. This month was Valentine's Day. Next month is Women's Month. So we're going to do it on the 27th. It's on a Sunday. I'm going back to DC. It's going to be from 12 to 4. I can put the link in the chat, and we're basically going to be speaking about women's health specifically, but all my actions are all the same in a sense that it's about building ground support and getting people involved in this healthcare fight, because again, it's going to take an Occupy level, a Million Man March level event for us to get Medicare for All. Anything short than that is not going to happen.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that you bring up an excellent point, because the propaganda machine of, the healthcare lobby that controls both parties is pretty powerful. So you see it when you're talking to like friends and family members of yours who are like, these are smart, intelligent people who say like, how are we going to pay for it or whatever. Right. They're just not, because let's be honest, the corporate media is funded by these groups. So they're not going to be sitting there, Rachel Maddow, Joanne Reed, Anderson Cooper, they're not going to be sitting there going, wow, boy, this is how are we going to pay for these wars? They're not going to ask those questions when an ad comes up for Boeing. So
and I have these discussions. I have discussions now with friends and family all the time. I talk about this all the time. It's very difficult, like, to even get like friends and family to even come to an event that I'm doing or be engaged with activism into even in a smallest amount of way. Like, everyone, well, I won't say everyone, but like some of my friends and family know who Jimmy Dore is. And I said, oh, he spoke at the LA March. So now everyone's like, oh, tell me more about your activism, Sharif. And, so I have friends and family kind of like that. And it is not to make fun of them or poo-poo anyone who's like that. Unfortunately, it is going to take, people with big accounts and celebrities to get involved as much as it's going to take the average American to get involved. It's both, right? We definitely need the single mom who's just getting by on EBT to get engaged, but we also need like someone like Nicki Minaj to get involved as well. We definitely need both. You can't have one without the other. So we do need people to ask questions. Join any group. I don't care if it's People's Party, Green Party, March for Medicare for All, Whole Washington, whatever it is. We definitely need ground support for these issues. And then the more ground support we get, the more actions that we have, and the more we engage with different communities, and we reach out to these folks and say, hey, we're having this event, we're having this rally. Do you want to support this? This is where we're going. This is our number one issue. Please be engaged with us. We do need your support, because that's why you're reaching out to these people. You do need the support. They can have far more reach than I do. So that's how that's going to happen. Unfortunately, no one, for the most part, people don't join causes. They join events, right? Like that's a big event. Like, oh, so and so is going to be there. Oh, I'm going to show up now, right? If I say I'm going to do this for Save the Whales, no one really cares. But if Joe Namath showing up for Save the Whales, okay, I'm going to show up now, right? So you kind of have to have both. And so when people ask me at events all the time, Graham, like seriously, like how are we going to? Are you confident? About I see you doing it. What you really think is going to happen? I said absolutely. I'm 100% confident, but with that, there is an asterisk to that. We have to be in the street. We have to have, because I speak to other activists, they have a different opinion of me in regards to what I feel about the movement. Because they feel like, oh, the numbers already prove it. I said, well, the numbers don't mean people in the street. I'm literally talking about stopping traffic, people calling out of work. There's there's so much of a groundswell that there's going to be mainstream media has to either talk about or have a blackout. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it has to be such an event where they have to take a phone call and say, okay, healthcare activists, what do you want? Well, you know what we want. What are you going to do about it? Or we're not going back to work. It kind of needs that energy,
Yeah, it is going to take big action. So, Kate, if you could put his website up there for people to sign up. So where is this? The rally's going to be in Washington, D.C. the end of March?
Yeah, the end of March. It's going to be in Lincoln Park. We was at Lincoln Park last year for the March for Medicare for All in July. So we're going back there again. It's a really good park to have, like, for a lot of people to show up. There's so many different ways to actually get into that park. Mm-hmm. And so all the speakers are going to be women, transgender communities are also going to be involved. The binary community is also going to be involved. We're trying to make this very inclusive as possible. We want a lot of different communities that haven't really you hear about in the healthcare fight. Kind of talk about, I'm trying to reach out to more Native American community. I'm trying to reach out to more undocumented community. I really want to kind of keep that mind share that is going to take the whole village to raise this child, which is Medicare for All. It's going to take everyone involved. It's for me, it's like there's no other option. There really isn't any other option. Like, I can't imagine electoral solution only or any other way of like knocking on your congressperson. I go to AOC's office often. There's no reason to do that, right? There's just none, right? Like, she needs 1 million people at her doorstep for her to even blink her eye at you, right? So that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, and so I've actually was sent a couple of questions from some viewers. What government representative have you met with regarding Medicare for All? Including, I mentioned AOC, but
yeah, one actually. I actually had a meeting with Congresswoman Katie Porter actually recently. I talked to her. I'm in community with her staffers. A bunch of healthcare activists at a meeting with her. We talked about her bill, specifically her bill. It wasn't Medicare for All specifically. It was around healthcare, obviously, because her bill is talking about Justice for Patients Act. So basically, long story short, a patient can actually sue their health insurance provider not just for malpractice, but for obviously being cut off and not being paid for lack of payment. There's other different variations of that. Right now, there goes things. If you have an issue, that goes into arbitration. So that's supposed to remove the arbitration side of a lawsuit of any issue that you're actually having with medical debt or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. So her bill doesn't go far enough. I'm very vocal about that. Obviously, free at the point of service, a nationalized healthcare system is what we need. But at the same time, I do understand that there is she's a sitting congresswoman, right? So having her engage in Medicare for All, healthcare activism in general, is good for the movement. Unfortunately, again, something I say all the time, I'm just one person, I'm not that important, but a sitting congresswoman actually has more weight than I do. People care more what she has to say than I have to say. So if I can do an event, or if I can have a meeting with her to talk to her about, okay, what can we do to get this passed so we can keep the movement growing, I'm going to do that, right? Granted, I don't like this bill, right? But at the same time, I do know A, it will help some folks, and B, I know that it is going to get more media attention. And that's key in this fight. We don't have enough media attention. We just don't, right? No one's highlighting healthcare activists, right? I'm not on the news. But also at the same time, all the other healthcare activists who've been around longer than I have and who have a bigger account and who have more resources don't get that either. So that just means that they're not looking at us. They don't want to, for obvious reasons. So we need to, for lack of better words, we do need these small little kind of unions in a way, these kind of actions, kind of events with these certain politicians who, for whatever reason, why they have these kind of bills, these kind of empty gestures, I like to call them, because they don't really do anything. It just says, okay, I acknowledge you. That doesn't really help people who are sick. That just says I can sue. I'm not in arbitration. Right. That doesn't go far enough. We need something a little bit more that says that full stop, that you don't even need to even go to see, you don't need to even get health insurance to even go see a doctor. Right, because that should automatically be off the table. Like we even have health insurance companies, but unfortunately, this is where we are. And this is what goes back to my point that we need something where I don't even need to even. It should be in a point. We should be in a position where I don't feel I need to even speak to Katie Porter. We should be at a point where I can just contact, a bunch of other healthcare activists, people in my community, and let's just go to Washington already and go to the White House and force Joe Biden to have a meeting with all these healthcare activists. That is the ideal scenario. Kind of very similar like when Black Lives Matter spoke with Obama, right? That's something that we need. We need that kind of energy where that we can have that discussion. And so, okay, what are you going to do for us? How can we get Medicare for all? What do we need to do, right? That's the kind of relationship we need to have versus, okay, I'm meeting with this congressperson to talk about a bill that doesn't really go far enough. So, I mean, also too, Cori Bush did show up last year at the March for Medicare for All. I personally, I took offense to that. And I made it very clear about that because honestly, a lot of the squad members will argue and say, oh, we didn't hear anything about this. We didn't know about this. That's just bullshit. It's just not true. Because Jamil Jayapal, she sent us a message. I contact Nina Turner. We contact Cori Bush. We contact AOC. We contact so many different progressives, so many different people that either in office and running for office. So the idea of that no one knew, it's absolute horseshit. So I just took offense to that. And I just feel like at the end of the day, like if you want to show up for a photo op and you want to show up and say, hey guys, I do care, I'm with you. Like that doesn't work for me. Right, we spent $7,000 for this march. Right, allowing you to speak and come there would be insulting. That's just how I feel about it. Like I'm not going to do that because there should have been no need for this march. Right, there's no reason for that.
Yeah, they're very good at theatrics. That's what they're very good at that. They're very good at performative actions. Another question we have here is, what is the status of the petition that was submitted to the UN last August?
Ooh, great question. I love that. So that's very, so I've never did anything like this before. I just recently now got 2 lawyers to work with me, which is really awesome. And so with the UN, what the most difficult thing about that is that there's so many different things you have to bullet. So long story short, they make you do a lot of work and you have to put down, like you just exhausted so many domestic remedies before you even begin to process the idea that, long story short, America, the government is genociding its own people, right? So you even have to, like, there's so much red tape they put you through, obviously, because they don't want to do anything, right? We all know this. But so now that I have two lawyers helping me, and in the beginning, I was trying to get some of the other activists to help me pull data, pull research, and it's very hard and very tedious. And if anyone actually knows how to do this, please DM me. I would love that help. Because I still want to do this. I think this is a very good action, a very good task to file the petition, to submit it to the UN, to say that look what the United States is doing to its own people. That's really important. On top of having ground support for Medicare for all, I think both is needed, because we have the embarrassment, because I don't think the UN is going to do anything. And if the UN even did anything, I don't think America's going to even care. I don't think no one's going to force America's hand. I think the best thing we can do is have it out in the open, where that for people like my aunt and my dad and my mom, if the UN says that, oh, America is doing something wrong with its own people in regards to healthcare, then they'll shut up, because it takes someone that level to agree that what I've been talking about and what some other people are focusing about is accurate, then they'll listen. Unfortunately, that's how it's going to take. All the amount of data that I actually give them doesn't really matter. It needs someone up there to kind of say, oh, look, this is wrong. And so we'll have, I think, sort of for the people who are kind of anti-UN, I agree with you, but I do think it helps to fuel kind of the movement a little bit, because it gets more allies, in your side. You know what I mean? I think that's what that's for.
Yeah, it also is like this is sometimes where people on the left like can get in their own way. So
yes,
if you look at the big picture here, as you stated from the top of this interview, is to put the pressure on so that at the ballot box, there's enough pressure that these politicians go, oh shit, we gotta pass Medicare for all. They're going to vote me out. One of the ways to do that is to get the UN. Now you can be like, I'm not a fan of the UN. I'm not a whatever, or the UN has done this and that. Those are all fair complaints to make. Still though, it is significant to that. If the UN were to say, oh, this is actually a humanitarian crisis, that the United States is letting its own citizens die when it has the best. We have great healthcare in this country.
Right.
It's just for profit and not everyone gets it. And if you do get it, you might go bankrupt, even if you have insurance. So that's getting the UN to pressure that, because let me tell you something again, as you stated, you can't get on mainstream media. Well, if the UN starts making a public statement, well, then the mainstream media has to talk. You are forcing everyone to talk about this. If Black Lives Matter was just a handful of people in a park, never would have got the press. Never would have got the press, man. I don't care who you had down there. But when you have 100,000 people in the streets in cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, and all over the whole, when that one in May, a year and a half ago, when you had millions of people in 18 countries, I mean, that was like, you cannot pretend
that don't exist. Right. You can't pretend that. And I say that to people too, about even with the whole George Floyd thing. I was saying that a lot of people have a misunderstanding about the George Floyd argument. We're not saying George Floyd is a good person. We're not arguing that. It's not about him. It's not about his character. It's about what the cop did and what that represents for every Black person that goes on in this country, but every country. Right. So we talk about law and order. We're talking about cops being, the model citizen and being, virtuous and good, and all the things that we hear about what law enforcement is about in this country. We Black people in this country always talk about that's not true. That's just a lie. We don't get that experience. Right. And so what the George Floyd situation did it exposed that. So a lot of people made this assumption that we are like almost like we're celebrating or like honoring an honorable person, and that's not the point. The point is not about the person, it's about the fact how at the end of the day, law enforcement treat Black people like that way all the time. So that's a prime example. Even if he's the worst person imaginable, the way that cop handled the situation, obviously he's racist, but the way he handled that situation is what we go through all the time. And so that's why it resonated with not just people in this country, but everywhere, because we go through that all the time. And I think more stuff like that is what really caused people to start questioning and start opening up the conversation. I feel I got more of my friends and family once the George Floyd situation happened to kind of open up and kind of talk more about, because keep in mind, police shootings, Black people, it's not a new thing, right? It's just not, right? But what George Floyd did, what that incident did, it opened up the conversation for more people to have this discussion. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's good. So there is a weird silver lining. I hate to have someone die for me to have that good discussion, but unfortunately, that's what it was, unfortunately.
Yeah, and people are dying every year because they don't have health insurance, and we can't even get free healthcare in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, it's just like it's preposterous. So we need to turn up the volume on this, and if that includes getting the UN involved, then that's what needs to happen. And it's not saying, "Oh, I love the UN 100%." I mean, it's just saying they're a powerful organization, like it or not, whatever you want to say, and to get them to change and change, or at least acknowledge this. That's big, man. I mean, and I think it's going to take creative tactics like this. We've mentioned before on this show, it was a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, that the GameStop thing happened. And that was, that was a revolutionary act.
We need stuff like that. We definitely do. We need stuff like that. Absolutely.
Creative.
Yeah, we definitely need to get creative, 100%. And again, this is why I'm doing kind of this is why I'm kind of doing the women's rally. Because again, I'm trying to do different things. Okay, so next month's Women's Month. So okay, how can I honor Women's Month? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, this is how I got the idea. So the Texas ban happened, and a lot of my female comrades said, "Oh my gosh, Sharif, we got to do something. We got to have an action." I said, "Ladies, I'm way ahead of you. I'm thinking about something." But I was like, I don't know what date or how should we do an action around this issue about the Texas ban, about the abortion rights. But I said to them, I was like, I just don't want to talk about abortion because there's so many other things that go on with women's health that we could talk about. So let's address those as well. And so they agreed. And so I was like, we need a date. So originally I was going to do March 8th, but I needed more time, not just for speakers, but also to raise money, but also, to get the word out. So we moved the date, and then so now it's going to be the 27th. We still have speakers that we're going to announce. I don't have a complete speaker list yet. Right now I'm just still working out the logistics for a lot of speakers, and also too I'm speaking to some other different organizations and some other unions, because I want to get a lot of support for this action. And so because I'm honoring women's health and honoring Women's Month, a lot of people will just come out just for that. They say, okay, I'll speak to that, or I'll have something to say. So you want to kind of like see where people can have their kind of spin on that. You know what I mean? So
that's powerful, because like that is like Medicare for all definitely would help any women's health issues that are happening right now in our current system, because there's no way our current system is good for anybody other than like the 1%. So that's smart. That's a smart way to do it. Well, I appreciate you taking time to come on the show and tell people where they can go to get involved.
Well, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. So I am for M4A. You can follow me there. You can DM me anytime. Also, too, at the same time, like I said, people can volunteer. We always need extra hands. It's kind of like money. We can never have enough of it. So seriously, I don't do these actions by myself. There's so many different people who actually help me. I literally, Graham, seriously, like I'll get people who DM me and say, "Hey, do you need help with this?" Sure. And then just that simple. And I just said, I'll take the help. Absolutely.
Well, I'm posting the Women's Healthcare Rally link. I'm putting this in the chat right now. And then I'm also just going to put it on the screen right there. So,
nice.
Yeah, folks, if you're in the DC area, get involved. There's a lot, as Sharif just said, there's a lot of ways to be involved. If you can't be there or you can't be in person for whatever reason, there's a lot of ways to help. There's just people, right? I mean,
there's so many that we get people who just help organize the meetings that we do during the week. We actually have people who do post stuff on Twitter, post stuff on Facebook. There's people who actually share this information with their own community. I mean, there's so many there are so many different ways that there's so much solidarity that goes on outside of DC. Because I live in New York, so I'm traveling to DC for the actual event. But there's two groups here in New York that are actually going to travel there, but also they're talking to their community in DC to be engaged. Because I don't know everyone in DC, so like they're reaching out to their community to say, hey, this guy is going to be down there. He's going to do this event. And so it definitely, just talking about it and getting other people engaged actually does help. It really does.
Well, that's great. Well, Sharif, thank you for reaching out and letting us know about this rally in March. And if you're out there, folks, get involved one way or another. I appreciate the work you're doing, my friend.
Oh, thank you, Graham. Love being here.
All right, dude. You have a great day.
You too. Bye, man.
Bye, man. Folks, great way to get involved, man. That's what we talk about, direct actions. So that's up on. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood and go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.